horse.
A little bit different. Again, Akron representing last night. Welcome to The Jump. I am Rachel Nichols alongside, indeed, 2016 finals champ Richard Jefferson. And Scotty's got that plus 5 more rings.
19-time champion.
So there you go. We got qualified guys to talk about the playoffs here. And coming up, we will talk about whether we learned more about the Nuggets or the Blazers in that great Game 7 they played yesterday. Discussing that in a moment. But first, so the Toronto Raptors don't have the longest track record in the world, but it has been nearly 25 years, thousands of games, and we can now identify the exact best single second in franchise history. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. This is a team that's had a lot of people in and out of that uniform. It's played later round playoff games with supposedly bigger stakes, and yet all of it turned out to be just lead up to Kawhi doing this.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won!
No one can believe it.
Amazing. Guys, we're on set here.
Look at this.
It's amazing. And Jurassic Park exploding.
Wow.
But guys, you were just talking about that during that sound. Look at it from ground level with the NBA's Phantom Cam around the corner, away from Ben, over Joel Embiid's outstretched hand. Is it short? It's bouncing 2, 3, 4 times.
God.
When I tell you, you might never see anything quite like that again, it's because there has literally never been anything like that before. You know how kids play in the driveway and say to themselves, Game 7, clock running down, he launches it. Well, that's all nice, but it's actually never happened until Kawhi last night. That shot was the first buzzer beater in a Game 7 in NBA history.
Wow.
And the symmetry for Toronto in particular is just ridiculous because it was 18 years ago that Toronto was playing in the second round against the Sixers in a Game 7, and Vince Carter gets an inbound pass from none other than Del Curry to try to win with a last-second shot. And look how that one went.
Vince Carter coming to it. Also watch the quick pass to Curry after he inbounds. Curry has it. Carter trying to get free. Carter at the buzzer. No good. And the Sixers hold on. And advance.
Yeah, that one bounced off the rim too, but it didn't fall, and so launched nearly 2 decades of dashed hopes and mounting insecurity for Toronto. Even when the Raptors were good, and they have been good a lot in recent years. LeBron James was always there to make them feel bad about themselves, hitting shots like, oh, I don't know, this one, basically playing the role of Lucy, pulling the football away from Charlie Brown. The Raptors just never had enough, never had the guy who could come through when he absolutely needed to, never had a dragon who could torch a whole city by himself. Until last night when Kawhi was that man, knocking down that shot and screaming his head off afterward. Kawhi would later say he hasn't shown emotion on the court like that in 5 years, since the Spurs won the title in 2014, and that should tell you something. This was so much more than just a ticket to the conference finals. It was validation, not just of the trade that brought him to Toronto, but of the franchise itself and its ability to produce the kind of transcendent moments that had so long seemed reserved for other teams. And there was some poetry that he did it over Embiid, who wants nothing more than those kinds of moments for himself. Joel, very emotional on the court post-game, tears streaming down his face as he talked to Marc Gasol, then simply he broke down on Mark's shoulder there. Raptors GM Masai Ujiri knows Joel's pain. He's been there before plenty. And last night, he had tears in his eyes as well. But finally, it was for a very different reason. It's been thousands of games, nearly 25 years. And now, the Raptors own a playoff moment etched as the best of its kind in NBA history. And no matter what happens from here, no one can take that away. So, Scotty, Kawhi Leonard. Why are you crying? What is happening next to me?
This is the
What? What do you have?
I got a little emotional too.
Is it Joel Embiid that got you?
Yeah, a little
much.
Dude, I tweeted that. I was like, look, say whatever you want. There's always like the crying Jordan. There's all these memes. But if you've never cried after a win or a loss in the postseason, you were never fully committed and it didn't mean enough to you, right? So everyone cries in different moments, right? Like I remember walking off losing to San Antonio, my second year, and I was like, on the verge of crying, right? And I saw a bunch of grown men who had never been in that spot crying before. I know in your 97 championship, there were lots of people crying. So
well, they made him cry.
Yeah,
he made other people cry.
Yeah,
He wasn't really crying in that same way, crying happiness.
I ran into some rough roads early on in my career and got very emotional. So I can understand where Joe was coming from right there. I mean, it's tough because they were expected to do well and to get pushed into a Game 7 and knowing that that's not an advantage for you when you're a road team. And it was soft, but
look at Kawhi
always the
Leonard
home team deserves to win.
Yeah, 79% of the time the home team wins. Of course, we saw the split yesterday. We'll get to that. Look at Kawhi, though, there. Is he your playoff MVP so far? Because you've got what he's put down in these playoffs. You've got Kevin Durant before he got hurt. You got Steph Curry after Kevin Durant got hurt. You got Giannis.
Yeah.
Who you put your money behind?
I mean, if I'm a betting man, I would have to go with Giannis. Just because he has not stopped from what he was doing in the regular season. KD has stepped it up in the playoffs. Obviously, Kawhi has stepped it up, but what Giannis have done, he's shown it throughout the whole regular season, and he's stepped it up even more in the playoff. And he's playing with a lot of force.
Yeah, he really has.
And I think when a guy is playing like that, it reminds me a lot of Shaq, that the opponent, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah, I'm picking Kawhi, mainly because if you look at Kawhi, there's been those conversations about Kyle Lowry not giving enough help and him showing up. Even in this game, the amount of shots that he took to get to where he was at the end of the game was so impressive, and he's asked to do so much more. We've seen the Golden State Warriors win 2 games without KD, so that eliminates him. Steph has been up and down. That eliminates him. Giannis would be the other person, but even they, I think their journey has been far easier, right? Going against Boston, I think, was a little bit easier, even though they lost game 1, than it was here. Kawhi is the central focus of this team, and the rest of his teammates haven't played great in this postseason. So for him to hit that shot in that moment, that has to give the edge to him.
Is he moving up in your best player on earth player rankings?
Oh, well, you know what it was? It was after the injury last year.
We've had a year and a half.
Yeah, after the injury, you're trying to figure it out, and he's 100% healthy now, and he looks rested and motivated and focused.
Would you put him at number 2? Would you put him at number 1?
No. I would put, he's in top 5. Top 5 is a very, very exclusive place.
I would say that's fair. Top 5. It's hard to give him top 1 or 2 when he hasn't played, for a while. And
top 3? If you had to play again, forget the past, forget the future. So I'm not talking about who
right now
the
today.
Franchise with. If today you had to play a game and they said, we're going to take your house away if you don't win this game, who's the first person you want on your team?
Kevin Durant.
Still Kevin Durant?
KD.
If Richard has already picked Kevin Durant, who do you want on your team?
I'm out to sit here and watch James Harden dribble for 40 minutes.
Well,
but I'm taking James Harden.
No way. I'm still going Bron second, and then I think Kawhi is third because of what he can do more than Giannis.
Right.
Giannis is a monster, but you can just give the ball Kawhi in all of these moments. Giannis can't hit a shot like that. He can't hit a 3. He can't do all of these other things.
I'm going to disagree with that.
Disagree.
Shaq could not hit a shot or do none of that.
But you still take him.
You line up some guys here.
But we're not talking about we're talking about one game.
I'm taking Giannis.
Okay, one game he's taking Giannis.
And he probably going to shoot 100% because he's dunking everything.
It's just interesting because you've got James Harden, who is, if we look at this year included too, he's going to finish in top 2 in MVP voting, I think 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. But if you look at this weekend, James Harden had a golden chance to do something great in the playoffs.
You going to take James Harden, number 2?
I would say he's probably the number 2 player in the game right now. Yes.
Man, well, I'm gonna be at your funeral.
Come on.
I know. I
said they're taking his house away.
I thought you said for your life. I always say, if you take my house, you might as well take my life away too. My house is my life.
Boy.
We'll see.
Let's talk about. I was going to say we got the rest of the playoffs. Let's see about the Sixers now, who only scored 1 field goal on 2 field goal attempts over the final 3 minutes of a very close Game 7. Now, Richard, look, you were in a Game 7 where it felt like nobody could score anything. Everyone was so exhausted. Yeah. So this does happen, but why couldn't they execute anything offensively in crunch time?
Well, it's tough. You have, your best player in Joel Embiid, who spends a lot of time away from at the 3-point line. If you posted him up, that might cause double teams. That might get some rotations that allow for guys. But there's really you can stress that 3-point line. Mm-hmm. You can pressure up Jimmy Butler. You can pressure up on, look at this. You can look where Joel Embiid is trying to attack from, right? So you're putting if you post him up and force him to either go get a bucket or a double team, that's the advantage of having a big player. That's what they do with Giannis. That's what they do around the NBA when you have a big player, and they never put him in that spot. Go get a bucket if they come, make the right play. That's what he was talking about with Shaq.
Yeah. I mean, my thing with this Philly team game is they just really never found who their go-to guy was. And I think it really hurt them down the stretch of the game when they needed offense because they were really trying to win by committee instead of having some kind of rhythm, some kind of, as we elaborated on, Embiid needed to get in the post. They need some kind of anchor. And the fact that they didn't have any kind of anchor on their offense, they were searching for offense throughout that whole second half, it really caused a lot of problems. And Embiid was uncomfortable.
Right.
Ben Simmons was uncomfortable, and their offense just got stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, look, the numbers tell us that Jimmy Butler is their most clutch player in those close moments. In fact, he's the most clutch player in the NBA in those very close moments, partly because guys like KD aren't in those close moments that often.
Yeah.
But he's not
Neither
your best
does
player.
Giannis.
But he's not your best player,
Wow.
right? So it's a weird thing on the Sixers where you have one guy when you say, oh, they don't know who they're going to at the end. Jimmy should be kind of orchestrating and leading the charge, but he's not your best player. So it's sort of
I mean, to me, I don't really know who would they consider their best player. I mean, Embiid is
gotta
probably
be
your
old
best
Embiid,
player,
yeah.
but is that the guy that you go to at the end of the game?
That's
I mean,
hard.
what if they don't double? What if
Yeah.
they do double?
And this is
he capable of making the play out of that double team?
And those tears by Embiid, right? Those tears by Embiid, and what you see there is that he cares. Well, if you care and you played this game, everyone has played this game, there's not one person out there that would say, Embiid, with 2 minutes to go, with 90 seconds to go, we're going to throw you ball in the post. You should be able to go get a bucket against a 40-year-old Marc Gasol, right? And if you can't go get a bucket, if they double team you,
Right.
then you make the right play. He's a great passer. He can do things. If someone drives and they kick it out to him for a jumper. But the fact that he's starting the offense at the three-point line, they're trying to move it and run this offense. It's like, yo, throw the ball into the big fella. He should be able to get you a bucket, a good look, a free throw, something. That's when you go there.
Well, the fact is they're inexperienced.
Yeah.
And yes, 2-3 years down the road, he's going to know to do that. But in yesterday's game, you saw the inexperience of them. They all playing outside the three-point line, searching for a three-point shot because they've been sort of lured into, we got to shoot threes, we got to make threes. Jimmy Butler made a great play down the stretch of the game.
Right, he's the
and
most
just
experienced
took the ball
guy. Right.
to the basket
To your point,
to tie
he's
the
the
game.
one who knew
His
I just got to
experience
grab it and
but
go do
then
it.
Kawhi had the opportunity to show his experience on that last second shot.
And Kawhi had some great quotes after the game, too, about how they had been in, he had taken a similar shot in Orlando and left it short, and so he knew he had to go more, but that he had been in that situation so many times over the years, and that's really what you're talking to. I do quickly want to get to that Denver game because the home team did lose in a competitive Game 7, so did that tell you more about the Nuggets or Blazers?
I'm going to say it told me more about the Blazers, the no quit. And I'm one of the people that thought without Yusuf that they were going to probably struggle in that first round and maybe lose. And then here they go into a second round against a healthy, hungry, young challenge team because, you know, Denver had they already played in a Game 7, so they were locked in, they were focused. And I think to see that Portland they just continued to go. They had to win at home and then they had to come on the road. That tells me more about them. I think Denver, when you see those tears from Embiid, you got to go through those moments, and I think Denver has went through them.
And I think Denver learned a lot in this series.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all saw how well they played in the regular season, how the run has been for them throughout the playoffs. But it was really about yesterday's game. It was about experience, and you saw CJ and. Damian really, you know, they just kind of took control of that game. And Damian really struggled throughout the game, but his leadership and his ability to get other guys involved was a game changer.
Yeah, and when he's being trapped, obviously that's what opens things up for CJ. I've been saying it for, I guess, a month now, right, of these playoffs. I am thrilled these playoffs are showing more of the country how good CJ McCollum is because he has so many skills. Yeah. He is such a just basketball player, and I love seeing it. This moment of Dame walking down the tunnel, it's everything, right? It's everything you guys play for. I know you congratulated your Blazers after the game.
I was very happy.
You know what a big deal it is up there for sure. Coming up, we're going to talk about new Lakers coach Frank Vogel and how he has agreed to have Jason Kidd on his coaching staff, and Richard has some thoughts. But first, it's time for our distant replay. This date, 2004, D-Fish. This is Fishy Rim. Take a look. I love Fishy Rim.
Here they go. They get it to Fisher.
Fish, rim, fish, rim, fish, rim, fishy rim.